Tough act to follow, John.
I know. I'd like to talk about the one bright spot in the Monroe County School District, and that's academics. I want to hear from my colleagues up here, what improvements would you make or accomplishments would you highlight in the area of district academics? First thing that comes to mind, and these are in no particular order, rated 9th in the state according to overall FCAT student achievement scores. We've increased the number of students for the last 3 years taking advanced placement courses. These are courses that students can sign up for in high school. They count credit towards graduation. They also count for college credit. We've almost tripled our numbers in the last 5 years. We've had a tremendous amount of success with the end of course exams. I think we came in first in one of the categories this year, and that was new to the district. And since someone already mentioned this, I have to give congratulations to the Academic Challenge team. They did place first in the state of Florida, and it was another area of poor planning because they almost didn't have the opportunity to go there. The teachers and the employees in the classrooms, the paraprofessionals, the teacher aides, the teachers have excelled, and I mentioned this before, even when they're faced with adversities. We have to make, as a school board, this next thing lies right squarely on the shoulders of all school board members. We have to make all decisions and policies in the best interest of students. We have to maintain a safe learning environment for all students. Research shows that if students do not feel safe at school, it'll affect their learning. I would also sponsor, one of my first acts, if elected, would be to sponsor an academic signing day for all high school seniors that win full or partial academic scholarships. I would at least afford them the same recognition that we afford our athletes in high schools. I would continue to support, and teachers do a great job of this, the overall teaching of mastery of subject as opposed to test-taking skills. And we do a good job at this next one I'm going to talk about. We have to emphasize higher order thinking skills, evaluation, analysis, and creativity. We have to increase opportunities for our English language learner students. We have to find a method to bring their families into the schools and help them achieve. We have to integrate reading and writing across the curriculum at every grade level. We have to increase the vocational and career offerings, and this can be done through partnerships through other municipalities, Keys Energy, Aqueduct, the fire department has participated before, Florida Keys Community College has participated. We've done all this before. It has fallen by the wayside. Not every student, not every boy and girl is going right off to college. So we have to find a way to have a viable education plan for those students. And we can do it through partnerships and agreements. Thank you.
Yeah, I think academics is why we're all here, because that's the main reason that all of us here are running for the board, because we're concerned about academics. Everybody here has a background in academics in some form or another. Mr. Welsh and I are teachers. He was a former teacher. I've done a little bit of teaching. For me, teaching was a second career. My first career was as a lawyer, doing business, real estate, and municipal work. But I love teaching. I used to teach at a community college at night, and I just fell in love with it, and I always wished I had become a career teacher. And that's probably why now in my old age I'm involved in teaching again, simply because I'm fascinated with education. I think it's extremely important. Our school district, I think the AP classrooms are a great idea. I used to teach at the new charter school down in Key West, and I taught 4 history classes, all AP classes. I was really, really impressed with the students that were there and their dedication to the subject and their dedication to the academic endeavors that we engaged in, and the fact that they showed up every day with their homework done for the most part and were just really pleasant to teach. That was a wonderful experience. However, I think also we need to put more attention in the schools on the kids that are not so academically gifted. I have 2 sons. One of them is in medical school, and the other one barely made it through high school. He works in a plant now, and he's running a forklift. He loves it. He's very happy doing it. He's making an honest living, performing a useful function. My younger son, who's the one in med school, he's always been a bookworm, and so he loves what he's doing now too. But in the great genetic roll of dice, everybody comes out different, and our schools have to be willing to deal with everybody. And I think for some kids, we shouldn't be pushing them into algebra. We should be pushing them into construction math, because that's something that they're going to need later on when they get out and get a job and have to work and support their family and pay taxes. We need life skills classes to be taught. AP, good. Great idea. Get the kids that are academically gifted on their way through college so they get through quicker and take in positions of leadership. But also, there's a lot of other people, most people in the country, that have to do the day-to-day grunt work. And those people have to be prepared. And we can prepare those people with more emphasis in our academic system on life skills training and introduction to specific building trades, construction trades, and manufacturing skills, so that when the kids leave high school, if they don't go on to college, they're prepared to go into the workforce, and they're prepared to pick up a saw or a hammer or whatever they need to get a job done. Because that's part of our school system, to train these kids to be productive citizens later on. Thank you.
To keep it brief, I agree with both these gentlemen. Obviously, academics is number one. But to add on to that, the VOTEC program is something that has gone away for the most part. When I worked for Key West High School in the 90s, I was instrumental in forming this mentoring program. We brought community leaders in to work with our kids and talk to them about all of the issues that the young people face that, unfortunately, everyone doesn't have a mom and a dad to go home and discuss with. And these business people would come in and help the kids. But through that program, we developed relationships with certain companies, partnerships. We worked with the hospital, we worked with the police department, we worked with, I think, City Electric, and definitely AT&T. And a lot of kids either found that they loved that career choice that they had chosen, or they didn't. And it gives me great pleasure, because one of my success stories is this young man who went into the AT&T program. He went on to college, but was hired by AT&T. He's my IT guy now. And I just found out that he's in the process of purchasing his first home. And he found out through this work situation that we had going with the high school at the time that that was his interest. And I think that it's a shame that these things have gone by the wayside. They've gone away now, when I understand, with that beautiful wing that they built on the high school with the cosmetology and all of that. A lot of young women and men found a career there, and they're working in our community. Others use that as a way to pay their way through college. And as these gentlemen said, it's not for everybody. We need to think about broadening our horizons. AP classes are wonderful. God knows I pushed my children into them. But that was just the road that they should have taken and they have taken. Other kids do not. We need to put more emphasis back on those programs. And something else that concerns me, and I heard this when I worked at Key West High School some time ago, 5% of the kids cause 95% of the trouble. We have wonderful, wonderful young children, young people out there, young adults. And I think that, it frustrates me as I hear community people say, oh, teenagers, high school kids, have you heard about what's going on at that high school? Well, yeah, they are. They're kids. They're learning. They make mistakes. And us as adults, it kind of angers me sometimes to see how hard these adults come down on these kids. But it isn't the majority, it's the minority. And some of the things that those kids do, it's because they're kids. Their brains are not matured. I would like to see more of an emphasis put on the good things that come out of these schools. A lot of good people, a lot of good kids graduate from our school system, and we need to focus more on that. We need to, and I don't know how to do it just yet, but more emphasis has to be put on that. Kids are not bad. Often kids are product of their home life or the situation that they live in, and it's our obligation to help them through those times. But for those other 95% of kids that are doing what they're supposed to be doing, taking the right courses in the clubs and all of the academic courses they should, we need to put a spotlight on them. We need to let this community and this county know that we are doing our jobs. The teachers and the coaches and all of those people are doing their jobs, and that these are good kids, and we should support them. And I just would like to see some kind of spotlight put on that. And perhaps make these kids feel a little bit better about themselves and not be so hard on them all the time. And I think you compound that with the academics and all the other things we've discussed here, and I think that we will be a success.
I went to a Chamber of Commerce meeting last night, talked to a senior executive at Florida Keys Electric Co-op. I said, how many interns do you have from the schools here? His answer was, none. We can't find students that can fit into our organization. They don't have the skills necessary. I was absolutely shocked. Well, when you consider a lot of their work is manual labor, working on high electricity voltage lines, etc. Of course they can't work in those areas. It takes training. But to not be able to find students who can work in the office, that was a shame. And that says you're not teaching practical skills. At the same meeting, I also ran into someone who has a book and a workbook that they're trying to introduce into our school system. So far without success, though it's well received. And it's a book, at least in the workbook, when you're going through it, it goes back to second grade for many of us. What do you want to be when you grow up? What skills do you need to be that person? How are you going to get those skills? What happens if, and it's partially a drug program, if you get a drug bust, can you become a lawyer, a doctor, a construction worker? And so this whole program is kind of neat. It lets the student think about their future and plan their future. Not just follow along with the masses and say everyone's going to go to FKCC or get a scholarship and go off to UCF or some other notable school, because many of them won't. And at the end of the day, all of them, with very few exceptions, will end up in the working world. Well, the few exceptions are the ones who go into academia. That's work too, but it requires a different set of skills. The rest of us, the skills we need: showing up every day. Gee, guess what? Being there at 8 o'clock when the office opens. These are the things we need to inculcate into the children. It takes a whole village to raise these students, not just a few teachers. The question is, how can we get the whole village to cooperate and chip in?
Thank you. One of the things that Mark Porter said that resonated with me when we talk about how well or how poorly the school district is doing individually, by school, by district, whatever, we always measure ourselves by the state average. Are we above average? Are we below average? Yet if you look at those various measurements, most of them have between 30 and 40% below average. So that you can be above state average at 55%, 60%, maybe 65%. And one of the things that he wants to introduce, as I understand it, is to try to raise that bar. I'm an inveterate baseball fan. The average Major League Baseball player hits 250, one shot out of 4. You want to be an all-star, you got to be 3 out of 10 or 1 out of 3. 1 out of 4 is just average. And what I think the district is saying, gosh, we're doing great because the average is 250 and we're hitting 260. You know, I think we need to set the bar a little higher. And I agree with Mr. Porter. When I was teaching, I called it the Vince Lombardi School of Pedagogy. If I set the bar down here, you all clear it. If I set it up here, many of you, the first time or two over, are going to stumble and you're not going to make it. But by the end of the semester, everybody will be clearing the bar. So I hope that that's one of the things that Porter institutes, programs to set our goals a little bit higher than just being above state average.
I've had maybe the fortunate or the unfortunate experience of running 3 times for the county commission and 3 times for Mayor Key West. When I lived in Key West, I did that with the mayor. And at many candidate forums, the question would come up, for all the candidates to feel, what do you recommend we do about, what can we do about keeping our kids in the Keys. They graduate from high school and they're going away and they leave. They don't come back. Either they go to college or whatever. And there's been some discussion tonight about trade schools and the absence of them pretty much now. In the past, it was more important. I'll tell you, a kid graduates from high school and he doesn't have a trade and he's not going to college. He's not going to do too well in the job market probably. So he might well leave the Keys. The college graduate goes off and graduates, comes back and has to work in a bar or on a fishing boat. He's probably not going to stay in the Keys either unless he's a conch or something. I think this trade school thing is really important, and I would like to segue from there over to a school board meeting I attended where Teresa Axford, who's the, what's the position, Chief Operating Officer? Academic Officer. Spent a good while explaining to the school board about teaching to the FCAT and how much effort they were putting into that. And finally, Andy Griffiths said, we're teaching to the FCAT and not just the curriculum. No, I'm not saying that, but that's exactly what she said. And I talked to her afterwards. She got real angry at me when I said, that's exactly what you told them. We're teaching to the FCAT. I've not talked to one parent in the Keys who likes the FCAT. They hate it. Kids don't like it. Dr. Shine didn't seem to like it either when they asked him about it. He asked him how many times should the school system test kids about how they're getting ready for the FCAT a year. He said 2. Again, the room quit breathing. You need to teach the whole child. FCAT doesn't do it. You've got college grad kids going off to college and taking remedial courses. Even at Florida Keys Community College, Key West High School graduates, Marathon graduates are taking remedial courses. You have 500 students use online makeup courses at Key West High School in the last year because they flunked courses in the school. Now, you don't read about that too much in the newspaper, and you don't hear Andy Griffiths boasting about that, okay? It's not all roses. You have to deal with reality, what's there. And you start from what is, and you try to improve it. You don't start with what you claim it is, because that doesn't mean anything.